category dataset in JFreeChart. Now we are focusing on category dataset. The interface for a dataset with one or more series and values associated with categories. The category dataset is a type of dataset which is widely used for bar chart, line chart, etc. Here the interface category dataset. The interface for a dataset with one or more series and values associated with categories. The categories are represented by comparable instance, with the category label being provided by the toString method. Interface category dataset is in package org.jfree.data.category. As an example 2, we can consider this code segment. Here the class default category dataset. A default implementation of the category dataset interface. The class default category is in package org.jfree.data.category. Here creates a new empty dataset. The method set value adds or update a value in the table and sends a dataset change event to all registered listeners. Here this is the value null permitted. This is row key, the row key null not permitted, column key, the column key null not permitted. Now we are considering introduction in package org.jfree.data.category. This package contains interfaces and classes for datasets used primarily by JFreeChart's category plot class. Package org.jfree.data.category, a package containing the category dataset interface and related classes. Now we are considering overview of datasets in the dataset in line chart based on a category dataset. In line charts, the dataset as in the example, the default category dataset class is used. The class default category dataset in package org.jfree.data.category, a default implementation of the category dataset interface. The first step in generating the chart is, as always, to create a dataset. In the example, the default category dataset class is used. Note that you can use any implementation of category dataset interface as your dataset. The A line chart based on the category dataset simply connects each category and value data items using straight lines. Now we are considering overview in category dataset. A category dataset is a table of values that can be accessed using row and column keys. Interface category dataset package in package org.jfree.data.category. The interface for a dataset with one or more series and values associated with categories. This type of dataset is most commonly used to create bar charts. Now we are considering an overview in category to pie dataset, utility class that represent one row or column of data from category dataset via the pie dataset interface. The class category to pie dataset in package doc.jfree.category data.category. A pie dataset implementation that obtain its data from one row or column of category dataset. Overview in default category dataset, a dataset that implements the category dataset interface, forming a two-dimensional table of values with keys for the row and columns headings. The default category dataset in packaged org.jfree.data.category, a default implementation of the category dataset interface. This column, a dataset that implements the category dataset interface, forming a two-dimensional table of values with keys for the row and the column headings. The column headings are the categories for the dataset, while the row headings are the series keys. The dataset is commonly used to create bar charts that can also be used for other charts types. Overview in default interval category dataset, default implementation of the interval category dataset interface. The class default interval category dataset in package org.jfree.data.category, a convenience class that provides the default implementation of the interval category dataset interface. You can use this dataset with category plot and an interval bar renderer. Overview in interval category dataset, an extension of the category dataset interface that adds methods for returning a start value and an end value for each item in the dataset. Interface interval category dataset in package org.jfree.data.category, a category dataset that defines a value range for each series or category combination. Overview in Gantt category dataset in package org.jfree.data.gantt. An extension of the interval category dataset interface that is intended for creating simple Gantt chart. Interface Gantt category dataset in package org.jfree.data.gantt. An extension of the interval category dataset interface that adds support for multiple subintervals. Overview in JDBC category dataset in package org.jfree.data.jdbc, a category dataset that reads data from JDBC via from a database via JDBC. Class JDBC category dataset in package org.jfree.data.jdbc, a category dataset implementation over database JDBC result set. The dataset is populated via a call to execute query string with string SQL query. This SQL query must return at least 2 columns. First column will be the category name and the remaining columns values. Each column represents a series. Subsequent calls to execute query string will refresh the dataset. A category dataset that reads data from a database via JDBC. The data is cached in memory and can be refreshed at any time. Overview in box and whisker category dataset in package org.jfree.data.statistics, an interface that extends the category dataset interface and returns the values required for a boxed and whisker chart. Interface boxed and whisker category dataset in package org.jfree.data.statistics, a category dataset that defines the new various medians, outliers, and average values for each item. The dataset represents a two-dimensional table where each cell in the table contains a complete set of statistics in one box and whisker item, a mean, median, quartile boundary values Q1 and Q3, plus information about outliers and ferrouts. Overview in default box and whisker category dataset, a dataset that can be used to create box and whisker plot using a box and whisker renderer on a category plot. A class box and whisker category dataset in package org.jfree.data.statistics, a convenient class that provides the default implementation of the box and whisker category dataset interface. This class implements box and whisker category dataset interface. Overview in default multi-value category dataset, a dataset that represents two multi-dimensional table where each cell in the table can hold 0, 1 or many numerical values. Class default multi-value category dataset in package org.jfree.data.statistics, a category dataset that defines multiple values for each item. This class implements the multi-value category dataset interface. This class was first introduced in JFreeChart version 1.0.7. Overview in default statistical category dataset, a dataset that stores mean and stores mean and standard deviation values for each cell in a row dimensional table. Class default statistical category dataset in package org.jfree.data.statistics, a convenient class that provides the default implementation of the statistical category dataset interface. Keys instances of comparable are used to reference the rows and columns in the table. This class provides the default implementation of the statistical category dataset interface. Overview in statistical category dataset. A statistical category dataset is a table of data where each data item consists of a mean and a standard deviation calculated externally on the basis of some other data. Interface statistical category dataset in package org.jfree.data.statistics, a category dataset that defines a mean and standard deviation value for each item. This interface is an extension of the category dataset interface. Category dataset handler in package org.jfree.data.xml. Overview, a SAX handler that creates the category dataset by processing an element in an XML document. Class category dataset handler in package org.jfree.data.xml, a SAX handler for reading a category dataset from an XML file. The format supported by the handler is illustrated by the following example. The category dataset element can contain any number of series elements, and each series element can contain any number of item elements. A simple data for JFreeChart. Sorry, a sample data for JFreeChart. Overview in category series handler, a SAC handler that reads a series sub-element within a category dataset XML file. Class category series handler in package org.jfree.data.xml, a handler for reading a series for a category dataset. The work is delegated to this class by the category dataset handler class. As an exception, we can consider unknown key exception. If either key is not defined in the dataset, in method public number get value comparable new key, row key comparable column key in class default category dataset. As an error example, we can consider this one occurred in the environment with JFreeChart 1.0.4 and JCommon 1.0.8. Create line chart string category dataset boolean in chart factory cannot be applied to string category dataset oriented and boolean and boolean.